Let's take a look at some charts on Link from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So I think most of us are aware that Link is a decentralized Oracle service or data validity service, I guess you could say, mainly used in this case for DeFi applications. It has quickly become an important backbone of the DeFi ecosystem. It's great that it has a story. It's great that it has a use case, but ultimately, why most of us are here, the price of the token is determined by supply demand. I'll talk about that in depth, as well as some technicals for the price chart. This is one example of an oracle. It pulls, in this case, 21 different sources for a price and then verifies that price amongst the group. And then that price is used for DeFi applications. If we look at who's involved in DeFi, this is a list from September 30th, but you can look in the article. Tons of groups, tons of people, all, in my opinion, PR fluff, because again, all it comes down to is supply and demand of the token with anything, especially ICOs, which are 100% pre-mines for the most part. All that matters is when is the team selling, what are they selling, how are they selling, when are they selling. So yes, I didn't talk about Binance Chain adopting Chainlink oracles. It's good that the use case is essentially putting its tendrils in so many places. It's becoming invaluable and extremely useful. Ideally, that translates into token price, but not always, certainly. I mean, look at Omni and Tether. Omni was important for Tether, but Omni, the token, didn't go anywhere. ETH is important for Tether now, but it's hard to say that ETH was influenced by Tether prints, So I think that's important to factor in when you see all this PR stuff. Like, it's great from a development standpoint that Google and whoever else on this list is involved, Oracle, they're interested and willing to take part in this experiment, but that probably doesn't move the needle at the end of the day price-wise. What does move the needle is the Link token supply, which anytime I bring this up, I'm attacked on Twitter or wherever else from Link bots, Link Marines, air quotes, who think that, this isn't a big issue, or that the token selling isn't a big issue, or that they're selling for business development purposes, which is true, but they are still selling the token, and that is important for the token price. So right now there's about 40% in circulation, 60% not in circulation. If you look at this with anything else without a chart like Links, you'd say, what are you doing getting into this? Because 60% of the supply hasn't been sold yet into circulation. Now, this is kind of like worse than Ripple, but nobody thinks of it like that because the price chart has appreciated so well over the past few years. But Smart Contract Limited is like the holding company or the company behind Link development, from what I can gather. And they have been selling at an increasing rate over the course of the year, which, in my opinion, plays a big role in the token price. If you have large entities selling and it isn't absorbed by buyers, price goes down. You can argue like this isn't that much Link in the grand scheme of things, whatever. That's really not the point. The point is that it's selling pressure that is continuous and will not stop until the tokens are sold. In this specific wallet, they have, I think, 16 million Link left, which should be sold off within the next few months if they're selling 4 million a month or more. So this shouldn't take too much longer to empty this wallet. Then I'm kind of curious what's going to happen after that. As far as the other tokens that they have, they have 253 million tokens potentially. So the question is, do they just keep selling the other stuff? Sergey may have talked about this, or the Link company may have talked about this. I didn't really find anything on that this go around, but also worth paying attention to. All right, on-chain metrics, which, honestly to me aren't super important, but they do help reveal what's going on with price a lot of the times, because if transactions per day are at an all-time high, odds are price is too, because speculation's extremely high at that point. Lots of people moving Link to and from exchanges, that sort of thing. So you can see when price was insane, bonkers, right? Like, of course, transactions are at an all-time high. Mean transaction sizes are at an all-time high. Speculation's at an all-time high. Right now, we're far from that, transaction-wise and average transaction value-wise. So it's no surprise that price is muted or down or bearish, just lethargic, cooling off, any sort of adjective you want to use. So if I was bullish again, I'd want to see transactions per day spiking or increasing. Look at this from 2019 to 2020. You can see this gradual increase in transactions, which also mirrored price. If we look at active addresses in the fill and NVT, inverse metric of economic utility, in the line here, so a falling NVT is bullish, a rising NVT is less bullish or bearish. NVT at all-time highs is bearish. NVT at all-time lows is bullish. So this says that historically NVT is bullish, on-chain activity is historically high relative to market cap. Over the past few weeks, market cap has not priced in the declining on-chain activity, is how I'd read this. So this reads as overbought to me, even though historically it's in a great place. Active addresses are still at multi-year highs, aside from earlier in the year when price hit an all-time high. But if you zoom out and look at everything historically since 2018, active addresses are extremely high. So that means, again, use cases are high. People are using it and continuing to use it, that sort of thing. So that's all bullish long-term, definitely. Looking at the development side, this is just one GitHub development's active. That's really kind of all I care about. Binary, are people developing? Are there developers? There's 138 repos or something like that. So there's a lot of activity on the development side to support that token selling, right? So if they're just if they're just selling tokens and doing nothing with the development, it's like, what's going on here, right? So it's good to see quantity of commits. I don't really care about quality because I'm not a coder or developer, but it's just good to see something somewhere. Someone's doing something, right? That's all I really care about. Let's look at Google Trends now for Chainlink crypto, which is a tough one to really nail down because Chainlink is, a word in normal people languages. So if you just search Google Trends for Chainlink, you're going to get some garbly mess because it's everything other than the coin. So if I search for Chainlink crypto, you can see it spiked and mini spiked again, but it's pretty much down to multi-month lows. Definitely looks better than most of crypto, though. Most of crypto is just flat for 2 years. So if I was bullish again, I'd want to see this increasing month over month, week over week, that sort of thing. All right, let's look at technicals. We have the 50 and 200 EMA yearly pivots, volume profile of the visible range, VPVR, volume, and RSI. So historically, since 2019, Link has mostly held above the 200-day moving average. When it was below, it got bought up right quick, all 3 times. It's approaching that level once again, so it'll be interesting what happens, right? The Link BTC chart doesn't look as neutral to bullish as this does, for sure. We're still at the R5 yearly pivot, which is insane. Like I said, I think last video too, it hit the R5 yearly pivot the year prior. It'd be interesting if it continues to hit the R5 yearly pivots, because these pivots will expand as price expands. So next year, these pivots are going to be pretty high. On the downside, there really isn't any support until 380, kind of where this yearly pivot is, and this volume notch here, basically previous all-time highs. So if this gets super bearish, this could just retrace, all the way down to $4, $5, something like that. I don't really see that case right now, but that's something to think about if this does go sideways, if this does go south rather. And upside is kind of limited to local high, all-time high stuff. Not that that's not a decent trade on low time frames from 13 to 20, whatever it is. There isn't really a strong case for just massive, insane higher highs here. It's it's basically just ranging up for the past few months. If we look at the cloud, ideally for any cloud entry, you want price above the cloud. You want the cloud to be green. You want the TK cross to actually be above the cloud as well. The TK lines above the cloud. So, this entry bearish-wise was not great. This entry bullish-wise was not great. But we're approaching an entry bullish-wise that could be very good, because if we get a bullish Kumo breakout above 14, all the other stuff should be bullish as far as metrics are concerned at that point. So I'd really watch 14 as a level. If we can break 14 and sort of maintain 14 for a few days, it's a really good sign for bullish continuation here. It's cropped out, but it would be a similar type of cloud fractal structure as it was in August, or May, before the run up here. So you don't always know, obviously, how far the trend is going to run when the Kumo breakouts happen, sometimes it's nothing like it was twice here, and sometimes it's 50-60% like it was in May, June, July, August. So I think there's definitely a long trade here approaching if we can hold above 14. Otherwise, it's just neutral, nothing. There's no long, no short. It's in the cloud. It's going to make a decision by the end of the year, but right now I'd watch 14. And oddly enough, if we look at the half-year MA multiplier, so this is the 183 MA, and this is 3x the 183 MA, and you do have to curve fit this a little bit based on what you're looking at. If there's not that much data for something, you can't look at the 2-year MA, like Bitcoin, for example. So you're just curve fitting this to see, does it capture the highs and lows? Okay, and it has pretty well so far. It captured this high amazingly well. Just boop. This says, sell your coins, sell your coins. This says, buy the coins, buy the coins. So we're approaching a buy level. So it's kind of weird because, I'm like, okay, if we get above 14, it's a buy. If we get below 1083, it's actually a buy on the MA multiplier as well. Historically, you might get a couple months of dip buying opportunity. You might get a few weeks. But historically, all of these have been excellent buying opportunities. So I think Link is well positioned just to buy kind of anything. Buy the breakout, buy the dip. It just looks really good. As far as upside is concerned, you're looking at like 33 plus eventually. You can measure out these peaks and say, what's the kind of expected probability if this bullish trend continues? If this was kind of a year and a half or something, maybe a year and a month. What's a year and a month from September? That's October 2021. So maybe the next peak will be in October 2021, which isn't really a bad hold as far as time's concerned. If you're buying below 10 and you're selling in October 2021, I think you're going to probably do okay historically. Looking at Link BTC, this looks like a sad chart. The biggest thing I'm seeing is this bearish 5200 cross, the first one ever, basically since inception of the chart. Not a good sign for the pair. You're seeing this weird head and shoulders type pattern that is also pointing reversal. You're seeing price sitting within the lower bounds of the pitchfork, which is always a dangerous place to be, but at the same time is an excellent risk reward trade, because if you're confident in this pitchfork, this is your buy zone right now. Your sell zone's up here, your buy zone's down here. You can see historically it's only ever been here like a couple times since 2019. So if you're confident in Link having a future against BTC, you're buying here. I think it's a little too early. I think this death cross needs to work itself out. I mean, there's no volume support. That's really the scariest thing to me. There's no volume support at all until 13,000 sats. There's a yearly pivot at whatever this is, 56,000 sats or whatever. I mean, that's kind of like the last support before Mega Doom. So it's probably worth taking a stab between here and 56K sats. But man, this does not look like a bullish chart to me. We are getting, though, a multi-month bullish divergence. You're getting a series of lows on less momentum. So that means the sellers are weakening, bearish momentum is weakening. And if it wasn't for this death cross, I'd say this is a pretty decent buying opportunity, but I just don't like how that looks. Then lastly, looking at Link ETH, also looks rather bearish, below the 200 really for the first time ever since 2018. And again, there's not much volume support on the downside until kind of the yearly pivot at around 0.12. So collectively, like the title in the article describes, everything's making sense here. There's no divergences from like on-chain activities popping off, but price isn't doing anything. No, on-chain activity is slowing, Google trends are slowing, price is slowing down, BTC and ETH are catching up to Link. All that stuff makes sense. I still would watch, like I said, below 10.50 and above 14. Both are honestly excellent entries based on cloud and MA multipliers, and those backtesting results speak for themselves. So I think Link is going to be okay. It might be a bumpy ride over the next year and a month, but historically should be a bullish journey nevertheless.